Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Sekiro Shadows Die Twice complete walkthrough. And this is episode 10, which I have named The Monk and the Guardian. And we are in Mibu Village where we left off the last time, or in the last episode. And you saw me just stealth killing that ninja. I want you to stealth kill him until you have accumulated a total of 9 skill points. You will see a text prompt coming up right now. And it should take around 10 to 15 minutes. I think it took me 15 minutes when I did it, and I had 2 skill points going into this. He does drop 784 XP, which is a substantial amount, so it shouldn't take too long. And he is actually the reason, or the main reason, why we bought the skill called Suppress Presence. Because he is extremely aware of his surroundings. But when you have those 9 skill points, we're gonna get mid-air deflection, mid-air combat arts, and also the last 2 spirit emblem upgrades. So now we will be able to hold a total of 19 spirit emblems. 20 is the absolute max, but the last upgrade you get from a boss later on in the game. And this vendor right here, he sells the purple mottled, or the mottled purple gourd, sorry. And while you're in the neighborhood, I seriously suggest that you pick that up. I just spent all my money on coin purses, which is my mistake because it will come in handy later on. Throughout the game and in this walkthrough, I'm gonna buy it later on because the mottled purple gourd is used when you are fighting enemies or bosses that have terror attacks. Because it works as the pacifying agent, that it reduces the terror buildup and it also lowers or slows the new buildup of new terror, was what I was gonna say. And there by this shrine you saw me pick up our 9th gourd seed, and then of course I get stuck. This never happened to me before my recording. I knew it could happen. And of course, when I recorded this, as I've talked about before in this walkthrough, weird shit has happened. And it's always like that. Whenever you start recording a game for a walkthrough, you run into things that has never happened before. But the good part about it happening to me is that I can warn you about it and show what happens if you linger in this area, because those enemies will not come up and grab you as long as you keep moving. If you want to stay extra safe, you can jump or go via the lake around that place, but as long as you keep running, they will not come up and grab you. And now, since we picked up a new gourd seed, we are gonna equip that into our healing gourd, because we are gonna take on, as I said, we are gonna take on the corrupted monk and also the guardian ape and a mini boss called Orin of the Water. And she can be a tough cookie to take down. You will see her very soon on my left side. She is a shamisen player woman standing over here. But we are gonna ignore her for now and just run past her. She will aggro as soon as you pass her and go out onto this bridge. But don't worry about that, just keep running. And the reason we are running past her is because we want to get into the top floor of this house to pick up another prayer bead, so we get a bit more buffed up before we start kicking her ass. And the funny thing is, after recording this, I actually came up with a better strategy than the one I will show you in this guide. Sadly, I don't have footage of it, But it's a really simple strategy, and it's a very small tweak to the strategy I actually use in the fight. So I can tell you about it, and hopefully you'll understand exactly what I mean, and it will make the fight go a lot quicker. So we used our homeward idol to go back to the sculptor's idol, and we make our 6th prayer necklace. So our life bar is a little bit increased, and I decided to use my 76 spirit emblems, or 76 gold or sen, to buy some more spirit emblems before going into this fight. And she will aggro when you talk to her. And of course, we're gonna go over, she only has one perilous attack, and it's this sweep. You can just jump and stomp on her head. And whenever you feel the need to heal in this fight, create distance, because she will close in on you, so be ready to immediately block as soon as you have healed. So we ask her why she cries, and you can answer, I don't know. I think both answers will have the same outcome, that she will aggro towards you. And this fight is all about parrying. Because she is an apparition, she can become more translucent, and then your sword will just go straight through her and you will not do any damage. And the quickest way to take down her health is using the Mortal Draw. This is the best attack against her in my opinion. And you can see, every time she does her perilous sweep, I jump and stomp on her head. But what I realized playing for this game again after this recording, I'm gonna talk a bit more about that, is that if you just jump up over her perilous sweep, don't do the head stomp. But as soon as you land, do a Mortal Draw. Because she does have like a second or two of recovery time after doing the perilous sweep. And if you immediately punish with the Mortal Draw, and since we bought the mid-air combat art skill, you can even start the attack before you land. And you will more or less just wreck her life bar. Because this fight can be really hard, because it's based a lot around parrying. Because she does have some quite long combos, and if you try to just block them, she will build up your posture and wreck you. So you're gonna have to try to build up her posture as quick as possible. Do not try to go for a health kill unless you use that strategy. I tried it on while I was running through this game again, and this fight went insanely fast when I tweaked my strategy a little bit. I think I only needed to heal once throughout the entire fight, and that was not because I'm some kind of parry god. It's just because Mortal Draw, as I've said numerous times before, is an insanely strong combat art. You can really tear shit up with it if it's well timed. It's quite hard to time it in this fight if you don't punish the perilous sweep, because you can see sometimes she becomes an apparition and she does hit quite quickly, so she can turn around and interrupt your swings if you get unlucky. And you see, I'm focusing more on posture, because she has like 3/4 of her health left, and that posture bar is getting really nice and high about now. And that was the last parry, and down goes Orin. There actually used to be a strategy if you lured her to the other end of the bridge. Her AI would not know what to do, so she would try to walk back, and if you hit her in her back, she would not aggro towards you. And you could also jump on her while she's standing there playing her shamisen, and that would push her forward and open her up for a death blow. So you would only have one life bar to worry about when you took her on. But that is something they patched out in patch 1.03, I think. And now we're gonna take down the corrupted monk. And before you go into that fight, I want you to equip the Fistful of Ash and the Snap Seeds. And also the Firecrackers. Because the monk is an illusion, and illusions, as we saw in the Lady Butterfly fight, are vulnerable to Snap Seeds. You can use Snap Seeds 3 times in the fight. They will not work a 4th time, it doesn't matter when in the fight you use them, but 3 times. That is max, and I suggest you use all 3 because this boss is extremely tanky. And when you get in here, hug the left wall, because we are gonna sneak in behind the monk. And attacks to watch out for. She has a big combo where she swings 5 times. Make sure to parry this. And she also has a perilous sweep, which we as always just jump over. She also does have a perilous thrust, but she never did it in this fight, so I didn't get any footage of it. And you see the Snap Seeds take off a decent chunk of health every time. And then we're gonna follow that up with a Mortal Draw, so we will almost halve her health before this fight takes off. And the reason we went in on the left side of this arena, if you hug the left wall, the monk will walk in like you saw and she will not see you. So you can get in behind her and do the same thing I did. If you want to do some extra damage, pop an Echo Sugar before you use the Mortal Draw, which will make you do 12.5% extra damage with each swing. You can use a Yashariku Sugar, which gives you a 25% boost, but I would advise that you don't, because Yasharikus also cuts your health bar in half while the sugar is active, and she hits like a truck. So if you're not prepared, it can put a quick end to this fight. If you're feeling ballsy enough to do it though, I suggest use the Yasharikus, do the Mortal Draw, run away and pop another sugar. Because when you activate another sugar, you negate the effect of the one you already have, so that will instantly make your health bar become its full length. It will not refill your health, so you're gonna have to pop a healing gourd or divine grass or whatever. But if you're feeling ballsy and you want to take this fight down quicker, go for that. And you can see I'm using Fistful of Ash. That is extremely effective against this boss, because it will stun her for a few seconds and leave her open for a Mortal Draw. And normal attacks basically do nothing against this boss. She is extremely tanky. You see me swinging away, her health bar doesn't fucking move. So always use the Mortal Draw, and when you have used up the Snap Seeds, pause the game and remove them from your quick inventory, so you don't have to browse through more things than necessary if you need to heal or whatever. But that is the end of the Corrupted Monk, or the Illusion version. We are gonna face off against her later on in the game as well. But then she is not nearly as tanky as she is now. Which is a really good thing. And she also drops the Mibu breathing technique, which allows us to breathe underwater, which is gonna make exploration a bit easier, because we're gonna pick up at least 2 prayer beads as soon as we have picked up the key item in here. Because this game has 3 acts, or 3 phases we can call it. And we are currently in Act 1. And when you have picked up the Shelter Stone, which you get from the Corrupted Monk, and the Lotus of the Palace that you get from the Guardian Ape, you will push this game into Phase 2. And Phase 2 will lock you out from all the Sculptor's Idols you have unlocked in Ashina Castle. You will be able to reactivate them. You can go to them and reactivate them, but they will be locked in the beginning. Because things change in Ashina Castle after you have picked up both of these key items. So after you have taken down the Guardian Ape, if there's anything you want to do in Ashina Castle before you go into Phase 2, make sure to not pick up the Lotus of the Palace. As long as you don't pick that up, Phase 2 will not start. And up here to my left, there is a little plateau. This is something I forgot when I was recording. You can go up to that plateau and find the Burning Ember, which is a key item to upgrade your flame vent. Because if you want to go for the platinum in this game, you're gonna have to upgrade all the prosthetic tools to their top tier. And then you're gonna need that key item. But it's really easy to get to, you just grapple up there. And also, you're gonna need 6 lapis lazuli. This is something I brushed past earlier on in this walkthrough. You can get 4 per playthrough. So you're gonna have to go into New Game Plus to get the last 2, because there is no way around it. And now we have gone to Mount Congo, because we're gonna pick up another prayer bead. And back in, what was it, episode 3 or 4, I told you to talk to the little old lady so we could start part 1 of the Rice quest. We got the holy chapter infested from the leader monk. If you didn't do that, for some reason, this lake is where you will find the holy chapter infested. It will be here smack down in the middle of this lake. So if you didn't pick it up back then, now is your chance. You can start the Rice quest now instead. Because you won't be able to do it as far as we did in back when we did it. But now it is time to take on the Guardian Ape. And he is definitely the harder of these 2 bosses. And going into this fight, you'll want to equip the firecrackers and the loaded spear and unequip any other prosthetic tools. And make sure to have only healing items in your quick inventory. This is very important. And he also has a few perilous attacks. He has the standing grab, like so. He has the jumping grab, where the hitbox is a bit arbitrary, but I'm gonna talk more about that. And he also has the poop throw, which is not a perilous attack. But when you see him hunker down and reach in behind him, immediately start closing the distance. You want to get close to him. Because afterwards, he will reach around and touch his butt. For like 2 or 3 seconds. And that is your best opportunity to punish this boss. It is a kind of ridiculous attack, but seeing the fact that you're fighting against a giant monkey, it makes perfect sense. Because this monkey, he is really dangerous. Here we see the poop throw. And I just run in underneath him, because then he will always miss with the poop. And if you aren't able to close the distance fast enough, try to jump to the side at just before it's about to hit the ground, because it hurts if it hits. And in this boss fight, you want to take pot shots at him. You may have seen the little grappling icon on his head. You can grapple in and hit him a few times in mid-air. I would advise that you don't, because he can go into tantrum attacks. And if you're not ready for it, he will punish you hard. So be patient in this fight. And one more important thing. Make sure to equip a combat art that doesn't use spirit emblems. I unequipped my mortal draw and went for the whirlwind slash instead, because there you saw the tantrum attack. Because you want to use your spirit emblems for firecrackers, and when he goes into phase 2 we are gonna use the loaded spear instead. And I really like this boss fight, even though it is really hard. It's very challenging. It is a lot harder than hopefully I'm making it seem in this video. But I think I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that I think this is a bit of an homage to the headless bloodletting beast, I think it's called in Bloodborne, that you face off against in one of the Chalice dungeons. Can't remember which one. But the big difference between this guy and that guy is that this fight feels fair, because the headless bloodletting beast does not. And now that I stunned him with the firecrackers, gives me an opportunity to talk about this. The first time you stun him with firecrackers, he will just fall over and you can go in and take a few shots at him. And every time you do it after that, he will try to fall on you. So if you use firecrackers again, move to the side, because you will see him standing up on his hind legs and he will try to slam down on you. You will still get a chance to go in for a few swings, but make sure he doesn't go down on you. And a few seconds ago you saw one of his attacks. Whenever, yeah, here it is. See, he slams down, so make sure to move out of the way of that. When he sits down on his butt, that is to trick you. Do not go in for a swing when he does that. Because one of two things can happen. He can either turn around and do one of those tantrum slams, or he can fart at you. Like you saw that brown cloud. I actually practiced this off mic to try and say that with a straight face. But the fart will inflict poison damage, which makes sense. It's a bit childish, but it makes sense. I'm really glad it doesn't inflict terror damage, because that would just be ridiculous. But either way, his jumping grab, perfect timing. You have seen throughout this fight that whenever he does one of his grabs, I immediately jump straight away from him. And you saw right there that he actually caught me with his jumping grab. And you need to be very careful of that attack, because the hitbox on that, whether he catches you or not, feels at times extremely arbitrary. It sometimes feels completely random whether he catches you or not. You may jump away and be dead certain that he's gonna miss you, but he will still get you, and that, I would say, is just bad design. So don't get frustrated. But that is the end of phase 1, so make sure to equip the loaded spear. And in phase 2, he gets some new attacks. He has the big perilous sweep, which you can just jump straight over, straight up. He has the jumping perilous sweep, and here you want to jump just as he lands. You see, just as the kanji is disappearing, I jump. And then he has the terror scream. When you see him taking up his head, putting it back on his neck, immediately run away, because it is an AoE attack and it builds up terror damage. And if your terror meter fills up to the max, it is an instant kill state. And something that is unique about that terror scream is that you can negate the entire effect of it using any of the umbrellas. There is an umbrella upgrade called the Purple Lilac Umbrella, which is created to soak up terror damage. But the unique thing about the terror scream is that any umbrella works. That is something I read on the official wiki, and I tried it when I was re-recording things, and because I actually had to re-record this boss fight actually due to unfortunate circumstances, to make a long story short. And I tried it, so if you don't want to run away, just activate the umbrella and soak up the entire attack. It will not damage you at all. And the premise for this fight, he does these swing combos. And what you want to do is to parry, or do a perfect parry on at least 2 swings when he goes into a combo. You want to hear the clinging sound and see the sparks flying. That will force him into a big swing. And if you parry that, there are 2 versions of it. He will fall over and you can thrust in your spear and pull it out. Make sure to press R2 twice. Once to thrust in the spear and once again to pull it out, because you will pull out the centipede that has infested him, and which is the reason why we're having this fight right now. Because he is immortal due to the infestation. And that's why I think it is an homage to the headless bloodletting beast, because that also has a centipede looking thing sticking out of its neck towards the end of the fight, and makes a hard fight even harder. That is the second big swing which will lead him to fall over. And you saw I thrusted in my spear and pressed again to pull it out, and you just wreck his posture, which is a really good thing. So make sure to practice. Watch this video, see how his combos work. Here's the big swing. He falls over, we thrust in our spear again, pull it out, stab him once again, and the fight is over. Personally, I think that phase 2 is a lot easier than phase 1. Because his attacks are slower and he's not so stressed. He feels a lot less random in phase 2. But now that he has gone down, make sure to confront his memory, and we also get the slender finger, which will turn into another prosthetic tool. And as I said, do not pick up the key item here unless you're ready to go into phase 2 of this game. So if there are any things you want to clean up before we progress the game, make sure to do so now. And before we go in and pick up the lotus, or the last thing I'm gonna do is jump in. There is a little pool of water over here in, not gonna say corner, because this is quite a round area. But here we're gonna pick up an item called the precious bait, and we're gonna pick up 3 of those in total, which will help us in killing our boss later on in the game. So make sure to not miss that one. But now that we have that, we can run into this little cave and pick up the Lotus of the Palace and push this game into the second act, where things get a bit more interesting. Things will change in Ashina Castle. So the last thing I'm gonna do here is fast travel to the poison pool, where the next episode is gonna start. But that is for another day. But As always, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.